All right, guys, today we're going to talk about Introduction to NPM, carrying on with our Fullstack 3 sessions. Today we're going to talk about NPM and the NPM Registry, NPM CLI commands, and semantic versioning. So firstly, NPM and NPM Registry. So what is that? So NPM stands for Node Package Manager, and it's the default package manager for the JavaScript runtime environment in Node.js. So when we're going to be using Node.js in all of our labs and all of our work, we're going to be using NPM quite a bit, and you're going to get used to a lot of the commands as you're using them. So you can use it to install, share, and manage Node.js packages. And NPM consists of three components: the website, the registry, and the CLI. And we're going to go through each of those. So basically, the NPM website is an official website that you can go to, and this website is where you can find all the packages, view documentation, share, and publish packages. So really, it's a community-based kind of site, basically, that you can, and I'll show you in a little bit. You can go to that URL, and basically, you'll have a website that you can search for the latest package, any little tiny thing you might need, from something as small as left justifying something to some datetime kind of packages like moment.js, or maybe body parser and these kind of things that might help you deal with a request or some kind of security thing. There's lots of things on there, and there's no point in writing your own code if you don't have to. You can just grab some of these tools and some of these utilities that are already there for you. The website allows you to browse through that. The registry itself is a large database consisting of more than 500,000 packages. So developers download packages from the NPM registry and publish their own packages to the registry. So you can use NPM to, as you said, download standalone tools and packages that you can use right away, share code with any other NPM user anywhere, and update applications easily where underlying code needs updating. So you may actually have some type of version, say like React. Maybe you have an older version of React router, say, and you're working on a project where you need to either downgrade or upgrade that package. You can easily use npm commands to target specific versions, or completely uninstall that package completely. Maybe it's been deprecated or something like that, and you need to use a brand new router in place of the one you're using. Right? That's just a very specific example of React, but if you're working on Node.js level, there's lots of other types of situations you might need the latest and greatest, or you may need to just completely uninstall it completely and go in a different direction. So this this package manager allows you to do that, as well as it does a lot of other things and that we'll get into, right? So you can manage multiple versions of code and code dependencies with this. So the npm CLI commands is basically what that means is it's a command line interface. So if you're scared of that DOS prompt or the command line, which some people are, they're used to more UI driven kind of things. Like if you were working with Visual Studio nowadays, they have Git and some of these things. It's completely embedded in the software, where people are just using like menus and things like that. But this is meant to be command line driven, and you shouldn't be scared of working in that way, because it's actually quite powerful and it's quite quick to do these things, right? So some commands you're going to actually get very used to is npm install. It's pretty obvious, it installs the package. Now there's a short form you can actually use, just npm just I itself. It'll know that's save you a bit of time from installing it. Save you a bit of time from typing the entire keyword install out. Just a shortcut. npm uninstall, complete uninstalls a package. Same thing. npm space just lowercase u. Basically, the system will know that command line will know exactly what you're talking about. npm init creates a package.json file. If you don't know what that is, we'll talk about it a little bit more. Basically, a package.json file is a file that Node will actually look at, and it'll have a lot of dependencies in there. Throughout a project, you may be installing a lot of different types of things at different versions and different type of dependencies. And this is a file that somebody can quickly look at and run an install against it. typically when you go to production, you don't want to deploy the whole node project up there. You may just want the code you're working on and the package.json, and because of this, the instructions in that file, somebody will be able to reproduce your dev environment or your dependencies on another server. So that's what in a nutshell, what package.json is and can do. NPM tests, so NPM tests will test the package. We won't be really using this too much. NPM ls lists a bunch of installed packages um, in your local environment. NPM help, we'll get some help on NPM and some of these other commands, right? So there's a full list of commands here at this URL, docs.npmjs.com CLI, and there's a lot more and a lot of different things you can do with the CLI, but for our intensive purposes, we're going to be using the same commands quite frequently, and you'll get used to them quite a bit. So NPM init is a quick way just to run on a blank project to create that package.json file. And inside of that, you're going to get a bunch of things. You're going to get the name, the version, the description, and there's a section in there that is called scripts. And you can actually build a set of scripts up that you can use NPM to run. Run some of these things right against it. You can do NPM run tests. And it'll actually go and execute that. So if you had a testing framework or some kind of testing package like Jest or Mocha or one of these type of things that you were actually doing some unit testing with, you can actually trigger all of your unit tests from the command line. And you could also do a couple other things as well. You could maybe you wanted a start script in there that basically opened two instances on two different ports, a back end and a front end. You could easily do this from the command line. And then you get into dependencies there, and there's a version number, and a version number that should be understood is by the node semver, which is semantic versioning, which we'll get into a little bit later. So when you look at down there, like Mocha, it has like a caret 5.20, and you have another dependency for should, which is another testing framework, and it has its own kind of semantics. They mean something there, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But this is what NPM init does for you. It will create a package.json file for you to work with, which will then allow you to use NPM to start downloading a bunch of packages from the registry. So again, the command line interface has a bunch of flags on there. So the install, which we're going to use quite a bit, has a bunch of flags on there, right? So npm install -- global will install a package globally on your local machine. Say you need Express everywhere, or you need something called Nodeman everywhere in any project you may work on. You don't want to go through the hassle of keep having to install it again and again. You can do it globally. So now you know when you create a React project, a year from now, that Express will be there for you if you need it, or whatever type of dependency you might want that will be globally available to your system. npm install -- save installs a dependency to your package.json file. So basically, it'll go in that list of dependencies there. As we have, there's that unique and the semantic versioning there. So basically, it's going to be local to package.json. npm -- save -- dev installs a dev dependency to your package.json file. So what that does is it allows that anyone who might develop on or use the project, your code, they can grab that package.json and they can install all of the dependencies with the simple npm install command. So whatever dependencies that you might be using for your build process or your testing or something like that, for your development, another developer could download your code, quickly run npm install, and it'll look at the package.json and go down and pull all this stuff, all these things down for them, so they can actually replicate your dev environment. Again, with these flags, there's a shortcut npm I -- g. It basically means the same thing. It'll just save a bit of time. And some of these other ones have other flags have short form versions of themselves. Open source community. So one thing, funny thing to talk about when we're talking about NPM is its open source community. At the time of this video, actually, Microsoft has now purchased NPM, as well. They already, as you know, they already own Git, so that's a big development. But it will remain open source, I believe. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but at one time it was very open source, right? And some people, because of that, were a little bit scared of these things, right? They maybe prefer something like NuGet or something like that that was backed by Microsoft that was still open source, but you had to go a little bit to publish things. And the reason why I want to mention this, it was actually quite a humorous story that had happened. It was called the left pad incident, and this guy here, Azure, I don't know how to pronounce the last name, but Azure created a package called Kick. It was basically a CLI for kickstarting projects. But at the same time, or a little bit later, there was a corporation called Stratton that actually had a patent for Kick for their software, and they got into a very big dispute. Um, they tried to bully him around a little bit, push him around, and he held his ground. And I would encourage you to go read that article and actually see what he said to them in the email. It's actually quite funny. I can't repeat it here, but it was quite funny. And he basically flipped them off, and he refused to give up that name. And NPM sided with him, so he deleted his package, unpublished it, and along with it there was 273 modules that he had registered that he deleted. No big deal, but what happened was there was actually one module there called left pad, which was 17 lines of code, which is on the left here, above him on the bike. And it was used just to write justify text, something very small, but uh, large packages like Babel, which is a JavaScript compiler, and React, and some of these things all depended on this. So because he unpublished it, hundreds of thousands of projects or different types of applications were all getting an error. They were all broken. And they traced it back to this guy and how he unpublished it. And, one person said he actually broke the internet for a while, but it was actually it was pretty serious. And NPM for the first time had to restore and unpackage NPM package, probably against his will, but in order to bring the internet back up, they had to unpublish it. So the reason why I mention it is because NPM is open source community, right? There's a lot of packages on there, and you really have to look at the rating when you go to grab a package. Kind of read reviews on it. You don't know what could be up there. I mean, it could be something like, you know, um, I don't know, clear out my old log files, and it could be opening a port up for somebody to sniff your credit card information, right? So you just look at the ratings, try to get things that are popular, and just be aware of that. But funny story, I just wanted to mention that since we were talking about NPM, and because the next version is the next topic's a little bit dry. So semantic versioning. So semver. So what semver stands for is that semantic versioning that we've seen in the package.json. And it's a way of specifying package versions with a three-part version number. So I like this question all the time. If I ever did an exam, I'd always put it on there. But it's a logical comparison operators, and there's some wildcarding allow you to control which version of a package you want. So what it looks like is this. You're gonna have major, minor. You may hear this a lot there, but so you have one is a breaking feature. Three, number one is breaking. The middle one is a feature, and the last column is a fix. So the first column there, you can say it's a major breaking change. Like you are going from version 1 of a software to version 2, and things are going to break. And when you're expecting it to break, it's going to break hard sometimes. Um, so that's what that first column is. So if that doesn't change, then the middle one is a feature, right? Backward compatibility, a new feature. So suppose you have a software product and you're adding, beside your admin module, maybe now you have a new module beside it that can be turn on and off. That is like an account profile module or something like that, right? A new feature that a client wants that's not going to break anything. And then the last column is a fix. So typically like a patch or a bug fix, when you have software deployed to production, you may have a bunch of defects, bugs that are around the deployment, you need to quickly upgrade the version of it, and it's basically just addressing those small fixes. Right, so this is what it looks like. So this could be a historical log of what was happening, right? You know, you have first, and you have features that are changing, and then when it increments the major one to move to production, basically it's released. Then along the way, there was a couple bugs, patches 1.0.1, and then there was another feature that came in, and then 1.1.1, another bug to that feature, and then now the big breaking feature, the major change, is now we're going to version 2. So that's what that means. So the range specifier, so this is kind of confusing when you look at it, right? You have the tilde and you have the caret. And when you look at it, it can be a little bit confusing, to be honest. Myself, you know, I had to read it many times still to remind myself that the tilde is a bug fix, all right? That means that the tilde there on the bottom, it just means that if it's 3.9.2, you know that it's going to remain 3.9. The major version is not going to change. The features, no new features. It's just bug fixes, right? So the caret though, the caret means that it's not going to be a major breaking change, but features and bug fixes may be part of it. So if that makes any sense. But those are the range specifiers, and this is Semver. And we talked about NPM module, we talked about the registry, we talked about the website, we talked about CLI commands, and now we talked about the semantic versioning that goes along in the package.json.